All right, so what's going on, guys? I got Joe on the phone. He's calling me from Texas, right?
Yes, sir. Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. Man, that's cool. Actually, Joe, what I'd like to start off with, man, is tell me a little bit about yourself. Saw you had a 732 number, so I'm assuming you're from New Jersey. That's how you know about us. And, kind of tell me about yourself, man. Tell me what the goals are. Tell me, the coach and athlete that Joe is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Monroe Township, New Jersey, my entire life, actually. And when you guys opened up down the street for me, my eyes kind of opened up a little bit, and I wanted to learn more about you guys, but that didn't happen just yet. Now I'm starting to get more into it because I'm actually involved in the field now. But I'm a senior at Gordon College, which is a small Christian school in Wenham, Massachusetts, on the North Shore. I grew up playing baseball my entire life. I was a multi-sport athlete until high school. I played basketball for a few years, but I'm a multi-sport athlete on the side outside of baseball. And I knew from the very beginning of my high school career I wanted to be a person that dealt with athletes. So I was originally, I had my sights on athletic training. Then
You're breaking up a little bit on me, Joe. You said you originally started off with the idea of being an athletic trainer. Go ahead. I missed that last part.
Yeah, I started off as wanted to be an athletic trainer. So then I moved into college and I had my sights on PT. And right now my course load is on a physical therapy track. So last summer I actually worked at Princeton Orthopedic Associates in Monroe Township.
That's awesome.
As an aide. And as time went on, I kind of got the feeling that I was meant to be a coach, and I wanted to coach high-level elite athletes. My goal is to reach minor league or major league strength coaching, particularly baseball players, hopefully for the most part, because I am a pitcher myself.
Mm-hmm.
I actually entered college as a middle infielder. And,
you just had a cannon arm, and they're like, just kidding, you're going to be a pitcher now.
Not exactly. I actually a noodle on the mound, to be honest with you. I came in as middle infielder, and we had a few guys that were hurt, a few guys that were academically ineligible, so they wanted to see me on the mound. And we had a senior captain at shortstop at that time, so I wasn't going to start many games that year or play much for that part. So I started getting work on the mound. I started using weighted baseballs, and I'm sure you heard of driveline baseball.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, I started using their plyo ball drills and all that stuff, cleaning up my arm path because I was not using my body kinetically efficiently whatsoever.
Right.
And that transformed my game. I went from sitting like 78 to 79 my freshman year. I was 85 that season.
Wow, that's incredible.
This past season as a junior, I was touching 90.
Wow.
Which was a huge life goal for me that I checked off, and I've just been going hard at it and reading a bunch of stuff and trying to ingrain as much functional work as I possibly can. I know at the college level and high school level, a lot of kids are just doing what they see as popular, and I tried my best to not do what gets you the likes on Instagram and all that stuff, and just do what's most healthy for the body, especially as a pitcher. It's so important to be healthy.
Yeah, I feel Instagram is as much of, a help as it is a poison. There's so much out there, and not being able to decipher through the void of knowledge out there, or taking the time to find, what research-backed whatever thing you may look at lets you fall into Instagram coaching. People get hurt.
I completely agree. I've learned as much on Instagram as I have, the stuff that's hurt me. I've tried stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. I've worked with several different trainers, and it's a continuous learning experience. And I'm thankful to have the resources online, but I'm also thankful to have coaches in person that actually see me.
Yeah, no doubt.
And can work with me, right then and there. I've done remote stuff, and I've done in-person programming.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are pros and cons of either one. But it really is just what works for you, and if you have the right guidance, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I agree, man. I've been very blessed to work with the gambit of athlete, if you will. Like when I originally went to grad school, or when I was thinking about going to grad school, I was like, you know what? I have to take the step above if I'm going to go into the collegiate population. Now, as we know, you can't even be in the collegiate population without a CSCS. So they made it somewhat more difficult. But most people have in mind, the four big sports. So you're looking at baseball, basketball, football, soccer. Most people neglect the things like figure skating, javelin, a lot of the track and field sports, a lot of the minor, if you will, and I say that very relatively. So I've been very, very blessed to work with, and I'm coming to a full point here, a ton of overhead athletes specific to baseball. My facility that I was at before I moved to New Jersey, it seems like we had about, let me think, probably 15 to 16 minor league guys. We had a ton. Where it was located in Charlotte, North Carolina, it was close to a bunch of high schools. And it was big, and we had a good staff. So we had a lot of athletes, and baseball teams are big, just like football teams, So, and a lot of baseball athletes figured out late, including myself, that the gym helps the correct way. You know what I mean? And I always explain athletes the same way. If you look at a whole pie, the gym, and this is a made up number, the gym comprises, 15%. It's not a make or break, or it can be a make or break depending on what you're going for, but you can't be a complete athlete without the entire pie. The gym is a sliver of it, but there's, skills I'd say make up at least 50%, if not more, depending on if you're a skill position player. And then you've got sleep, you've got hydration, you've got nutrition, you've got supplementation, the list goes on. But I got very, very fortunate to be completely surrounded by overhead athletes. Now, to touch back on my other point, talking about when you go to school for the four big sports, they don't prepare you to work with a 9-year-old figure skater that already has an ACL tear or is coming off an ACL tear. They don't really prepare you, and maybe it was my program. I feel like my program was good, but they don't prepare you for the little sports. So I was very, very fortunate to get all access to all these athletes. It's another tool in the toolbox, and the toolbox is never full. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that you called, and I'm even happier that you're a pitcher because you're a specific athlete that everybody has their own mentality on, their own philosophy or ideologies on. And I feel like I've excelled in overhead athletes. I'll cut my ramble short, but here, indulge me. As you're talking about working with plyo balls, we're talking about power work. And as you're working at power work, plyometrics are a form of power, right? That's how it works because of a high eccentric yield. So what research shows us, right, is that you can increase tangential velocity, which is, a rotating object fixed to a fixed point, right? So essentially like throwing a baseball or a javelin. And you can increase tangential velocity by increasing posterior chain kinematics. Now, that's the name of the game. We can go into the subsidiaries, if you will, of should you press or should you work this, that, and the other, and I'll come back to that as far as the shoulder is concerned for overhead athletes, back squat versus front squat, etc. But power work, and this is where I feel like strength and conditioning gets completely lost. Not everyone, and I don't want to put everybody underneath the same umbrella, but speaking in general terms here, I feel as if everybody always pushes strength, right? Strength and conditioning, right? People eat it up. People get lost in it. And the look, like you can see someone that's strong. If you put a linebacker side by side, two linebackers side by side, 164, 250 pounds at 6% body fat, it does not matter how athletic he may be. At first glance, that guy's the better athlete, right?
Yeah.
But what if he runs a 5 flat 40 or whatever it may be? So my entire philosophy, my entire approach as a strength coach is I base everything off my grad school research, right? So not to get too lost in it, but everything's based off of relative strength, okay? So relative strength numbers is just simply pound for pound strength, right? So there's certain numbers that research shows us that you have an exponential increase in power output for these specific variables. You have a certain number, which is 1.9 times your body weight, and this is relative to the back squat, that you can have an increase in vertical jump ability, so lower body power, broad jump distance, so we're talking about horizontal displacement, and then force output per foot strike. So you're literally jumping higher, projecting yourself further, and running faster. So that sounds like sports to me, right? So what I feel I've done, and this is my approach, is I've quantitatively answered the question, how strong is strong enough? Should Saquon Barkley squat 650 pounds for 3 or however many he did?
Yeah.
It's the most awesome thing in the world. And I've been in college weight rooms, and I played rugby and baseball in college. So, and it's a long story behind it too. But how much more time could have been dedicated to his power training versus his strength training? So you can now map out the periodization cycles to accentuate power development and not essentially minimize strength, but only spend enough time as you need. So then you create a stair-step approach, right? Because the name of the game is power. Sports are explosive. Time under tension, for instance, for a 1-rep max back squat is very, very long, versus throwing a two-seam fastball, right? So I feel as if the strength and conditioning community gets so lost in strength, man. Now, power is built upon the foundation of strength, right? And there is a diminishing return of power output over strength. It ranges between an area of 2.75 to 2.9 times their body weight. So this brings me back to my point. Should Saquon Barkley squat 650? It's the coolest thing in the world, right? But how much more time could we worked on central nervous system stimulation, making him more efficient and things like that? But before I told you now I don't want to get lost on tangents. So I'll stop. Please continue.
Totally fine. I'm one who's gotten lost in strength a little too much as well. I think a lot of people have that problem at some point in their career. Right now at TCU, I'm seeing a lot of coaches that are prioritizing, one day will be power, and then one day will be strength. But, sometimes they'll mold the two. And I was talking to a coach the other day, and he was telling me I was kind of programming my weeks out with high and low intensity days, because that's something that I've appreciated a lot more too. Some kids think that they got to get in the gym and just lift heavy every single day.
The grinders, man.
And they wonder why they break down and have injuries and can't sustain themselves in the season. So he was talking about sometimes the body may get confused if you mold power in the same day. Mm-hmm. My idea of power, because, as a pitcher, I tend to stay away from cleans with a barbell, because I know that
wrist.
Wrist. And this morning I was talking to another coach. I was talking to Alex Beebe out of Atlanta. He's a baseball PT. And he was telling me that there's UCL trouble with that, which is actually something new that I haven't heard. The coaches usually say the wrist is the number one factor to stay away from the clean. But he brought in the factor of UCL pain or risk of injury. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to find that happy medium between being powerful and being strong. In my training, I've kind of taken the whole power aspect into my, okay, let's move whatever I'm lifting as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's sufficient enough, or if I need to dedicate, another day to it. I'm obviously new to programming. This is a whole learning experience for me, but I don't know what you have to say about that.
Totally, man. There's a couple of points here. I love programming. I used to live and die by the saying that a strength coach is only as good as his programming, but there's a lot of copycats out there. And again, please don't let me insult everyone as a whole, because I'm not. I'm just speaking in general terms. So organization is key. So when you were talking about doing, high intensity or high velocity working in the same day, what research shows us is that your body doesn't quite work like that. It doesn't adapt to the stimulus that you're providing it. And it's all about adaptation to your stimulus. So the thing is, it takes time. So organizing your periodization cycles so that you can get, it takes at least 8 weeks for your body to adapt to a stimulus, and it begins to maximally adapt at about 12 weeks. I've seen upwards of 14 in research. So that's a long time, right? So your body, think of it as a bar graph. Let's call strength as one bar and power as one bar. And you're in a strength phase of your cycle. Let's say it's in the off season, so we're moving maximal intensity. Velocity is very, very slow, right? It's supposed to be. That's how strength works. So that bar for your strength skyrockets, because that's the intended purpose for your stimulus, and that's ideal. Now, I've seen this beyond more times I like to say. It's when strength coaches get so lost in trying to do too much. It's the KISS principle, man. Keep it simple, stupid. Sometimes less is more, and sometimes more is more. But I see strength coaches trying to do too much, because research document A says if you lift for strength, you'll get strong. Research document B says if you follow this protocol for power, you'll get powerful. And they try to merge it in the same day, the same cycle. into a microcycle variation, even if you're doing some wave loading or anything that might be, even if you're following like the tier method,